An MMO has returned from the dead, kind of, in spite of the lackluster dev support, if any of it actually exists. I don't think it does. There's another MMO that's taking a huge gamble that actually might have ripple effects on all of the industry, for good or ill. Enshrouded is getting wet, which is a weird thing to say. Guild Wars wants you back, the first one, not the second one. All of this and a little bit more in this MMO news drop for November 2025. Thank you for watching. Let's start with the most heartwarming story that really shows the power of community in MMOs. Rift. Rift was an MMO that launched during a nadir when the bigger MMOs like Warhammer Online and Age of Conan had failed to unseat World of Warcraft and other bigger hyped MMOs like Project Titan from Blizzard and EverQuest Next were still in their early stages of development. If only we knew then what we now know. I guess we'd just be more depressed. But it did fill a gap for me, at least when I hopped into the game. It was a charming MMO with its own aesthetic and its really new take on fantasy. It had a really cool utilization of Warhammer Online's public quest system by making rifts pop up all around the map for this kind of soft group PvE, as well as some of the most engaging PvP battlegrounds I'd played since World of Warcraft. Then it went free to play. And you know how that story normally goes. It got super overly monetized and people left. It was sold off to GameAgo and it's been in maintenance mode since then, with essentially nothing happening with the game outside of a handful of minor updates here and there. But a player-led community effort has breathed some new life into the MMO through player-organized events. The Riftwalkers community is a community Discord that is running events in Rift and building some hype into the game. The one that caught my eye was a fresh reroll event covered by Massively OP earlier this month. It's kind of like a guild that's playing the game all together, but at the same time, it's just this large enough project that it's garnering attention to a long abandoned MMO. It's something kind of cool to get this group of players, some that are veterans of the game and some that have never played Rift, all coming in to play the game like from level 1 and actually play it and enjoy it again as if it's like brand new, as just like kind of go into the game and have self-imposed caps on what level they'll stop at, and doing raids and actually limiting raids to the number of players that are going to kind of make those raids be more challenging. And it's just really an interesting way for an old MMO that's kind of in a lot of ways been abandoned by devs, kind of be revitalized from its maintenance mode. I don't know, actually I think I'm pretty sure where I stand on this. I don't think I want GameAgo to know about this. I don't think them realizing they have a viable product in Rift is necessarily a good thing, given that they're a very pay-to-win company. But at the same time, I guess, hey, as long as they keep the lights on. But damn, GameAgo really did just buy up Tryon and killed it, right? Like, I'm not bitter. But if you've never played Rift, or if you want to try it again, this might be the perfect time to get into the community-driven event and relive some of those memories or make some new ones. I've linked the Massively OP article below if you want to find out more and see if this is something you want to try. From community-organized revivals to community-organized panic, that's my cat's tail. Fitting. We're going to talk about Ashes of Creation. Ashes of Creation is going to be going into early access on Steam, which if you're confused, you're probably right to be confused, because that wasn't in the roadmap plans for Ashes of Creation. They seem to be kind of going a different route. At least my understanding of what Ashes of Creation was doing was kind of this off Steam testing. All of this testing, like going through their different phases, it kind of got kind of confusing, I won't lie, where some of the tests were like on weekends only, and then it was 5 days, and then it was finally getting into 24/7 live testing, which they're finally in now. And it was a bit confusing, as these things tend to be. I mean, I played Pantheon, that shit was confusing too. But it got to be kind of like where I was like, okay, they have this like cadence that they're going for, and it's all of this off Steam thing. Like, they had pretty expensive packages that would get you into different testing phases, and now they're going on Steam. And what makes it interesting is because this is happening as they actually already had for phase 3 kind of going into 2026. So their current phase was going to be going into next year, but their early access is launching in December of 2025. I've played a bit of Ashes Creation, probably putting in around 30 hours or so. So I'm not like the best authority on Ashes, especially because I have not really engaged with much PvP on Ashes except getting murdered. So take any comments I have about the game with a huge grain of salt, especially because it's very grindy and I didn't get very high level. But I did kind of come away with the realization that Ashes may not be the game being built for someone like myself. It did feel too grindy and too focused on PvP and politics and guild versus guild for what I'm looking for. And at times I felt justified in my concerns around its player friction potentially limiting its appeal. There just seemed to be so much drama that came out of this game, not always from the game itself, although there was plenty of that, but just from the friction in the game. Not to mention, I do have to call this out because it's the part of the community and the toxicity in the community that there seemed to be some growing racism in the community of Ashes Creation, which hopefully they have stamped out, but I don't know that they have because it didn't seem like it was getting, handled. Well, hopefully that is something they fucking deal with because that shit's not okay. And if you think it's okay, get the hell out of my channel, please. Thank you. I don't want you here. Getting back to the game itself though, even though Ashes Creation may be the most hyped and the most well-known Kickstarter MMO other than Star Citizen, the irony to me is that if it wasn't so focused on PvP, I think it might actually have some fewer issues than it does currently, but it would also have more competition because it currently fills a space, the PvP MMO space, that is not very competitive. But this new Steam release for Ashes actually has me more worried, not just for Ashes, but for the genre. More so than, say, when Pantheon gave a surprise early access announcement. Specifically because when Pantheon was going into EA, it was kind of like on the downtrend. People didn't know much about it. Unless you were like, follow this channel, you really didn't probably care that much about Pantheon. It was not the most anticipated MMORPG. It had a very niche market. Same with PAX Day, which just launched into 1.0 recently. It was not a super hotly anticipated MMO. Ashes of Creation, on the other hand, has gone up and down with anticipation and with disappointment. People have been extremely high on this MMO and extremely low on this MMO. It has been the savior of the genre and it has been the doom of the genre, given the day of the week. What that does is it means that there will, no matter what, be a ton of eyes on this launch. Much, much more than on PAX Day, Core Punk, Pantheon Rise of Fallen, Monsters and Memories. There's just gonna be so many more eyes. I think the only MMO out there that would have more eyes on its launch would probably be Star Citizen. And with that brings a whole lot more expectation and a lot more ripple effects. This early access launch for Ashes Creation, more than those other games, feels like a tester for the MMO market and what they're willing to deal with, and I just hope it can succeed. It's definitely flashy. Even playing it over a year ago, I found the animations and VFX to be really cool. I loved playing as a bard, even with the visual issues that Unreal Engine has that kind of just mutes things. The world didn't feel alive to me and the game felt kind of bland, but I also, as I was saying, it's been months since I played and I don't really think that that game is for me, so take it with a grain of salt. I don't mean to slag on Ashes here. I'm just nervous. I'm nervous about this shift in their plan, and I'm nervous in them going so broad with so much expectation around this game because Steam is a broad opening and Ashes has a lot of eyes on it. So I expect December to be explosive for MMOs, I guess. But let's shrink back down to my little corner of the internet and let's speak about Pantheon's updates and their early access. On the heels of their announcement of new funding coming into the game and a new project manager, Nefel, well, Nefel is more of a promotion than a new hire, having been working on crafting with Visionary Realms for years, while also working for 2 decades at Microsoft. Pantheon, through its history, has struggled with having a head to guide the ship, and I think this will be a great fit. Beyond that, we just got the big November update that dropped new high-level content with the Wild Bloods in Silent Plains for level 35+, a new event in Black Rose Keep, a major wizard rework that has made them super overpowered temporarily, while the game prepares to move to a single NPC type instead of elites and non-elites, as well as the one thing I always gush about in Pantheon, the freaking sound design. Just take a listen to the new music that they added for the Tavern, and if you are any game, if you are an MMO single player game, shared world RPG, PVL is the one who does the sound design for Pantheon. Look them up, because I want to hear their audio in more games. For this video though, it might be what's coming up for Pantheon that might be a bit more exciting. In December, we should not only get a roadmap, thank fuck, for the first half of 2026, but also the December update should include the first iteration in Pantheon of what I hope will be the start of many sorts of horizontal progression in the game that open it up a bit instead of just the straight up vertical progression that exists right now. Mounts, not just purchasable mounts, but tameable ones. I think that part there, the second part there about being tameable ones and like having a couple different types of them, although it'll just be horses right now, is really important to add something else in the game to do instead of just vertical progression. To give World of Warcraft their credit, they have done a very good job of making a game, even though it is still a mostly vertical game, but having in enough horizontal things to give you things to do when you cannot progress vertically. I still think other games like Ultima Online, Star Wars Galaxy did all of that shit better, the horizontal stuff better, but still, there needs to be more, I think, in general, to hold attention, to make it feel more rewarding to log in instead of just this treadmill of vertical, which can feel either fantastic or terrible, depending on how your day goes. There needs to be something there, I think, in the middle, something there to smooth it out a little bit. That's not a freaking daily login bonus. Pantheon still has a lot that they need to add to the game, and as we close in on the 1 full year in early access, I think the best way to describe their first year is mixed, but at the very least, we seem to be ending on a good note here with the funding, with the new updates rolling out, and hopefully a good update with the mounts and taming coming in. But perhaps in the most unexpected and cool news, we get to talk about an MMO that launched in 2005, Guild Wars. We got a sudden surprise announcement of a little mini remaster of stalwart MMO Guild Wars, the first one. Essentially a modernization of the game that will also be bundling the base game and the first 3 campaigns into a $20 bundle, or well, free if you already own them. There's a reason why the last one isn't included, and we'll get to that in just a sec. The big highlight for many is going to be that they're making it fully Steam Deck verified and suited for controllers, high resolution monitors, as well as some improved graphics and audio. But it goes even further, answering questions on content creator Lorenity's Twitch channel, and I apologize Lorenity if I did not say your name correctly, you can crucify me in the comments. But ArenaNet's Stephen Clark Wilson left the door open for more content for the 2005 MMO, saying, quote, "We're rebranding, sort of, the expansion as a DLC. So we'll have 2 DLC offerings. One is Eye of the North, which is large, and the bonus mission pack, which is cool, smaller. And by branding it as a DLC, it gives us the opportunity in the future, should that moment ever arise, to price whatever new content we might make someday, if that were to happen, appropriately." So obviously nothing is imminent and nothing is even planned, but that door is just at least a little bit cracked open to give the opportunity that maybe in the future, we might get new content for this old MMO. I booted up Guild Wars some rainy day in 2005 to see what it was all about. I ran around in some desert area, probably the tutorial, and then I logged off never to log in again. So it'll be nice for me to be able to join this again as a whole new experience. And with I honestly kind of want an experience that I can take on the Steam Deck because I really freaking like the Steam Deck. So it'll be cool to see how that works out. And I'm excited to see at least a little bit of an influx of players that tend to come in when something like this happens. Guild Wars Reforged will be available on December 3rd.
All right. Can you see the light?
Yeah, I can see the light. I can see you. Do not. Do not.
Can you see the light?
Do not. BB, do not. Do not.
Oh, damn, that's dark.
That is so fucked up. Our next bit of news is actually MMO adjacent news, and I think I want to include something like this in each video kind of going forward. This one is about Enshrouded. One of the things I've come to love about covering MMOs is the discovery of an adjacent genre in the shared world RPG space, and chief among them has been Enshrouded, a game that initially caught my eye because it reminded me a whole lot of EverQuest Landmark with how you could destroy terrain and reshape it while also having bona fide class roles like healers, DPS, and tanks in a shared world of up to 16 players. Enshrouded has been in early access for a while, leading up to a 1.0 release next year, but they just released a freaking cool new update that I really wanted to tell you about because it's one where you can drown yourself. First, and the biggest thing, you can play in the water. Not just swimming around, which you certainly can, especially in their new biome, but you can actually use water in construction. The water is fully dynamic, meaning you can redirect where it flows, you'll be able to add, remove, or transfer water in your bases, and even use it for your crops. But because the developers know people like me exist, they also added a little handy tool to your bases so that when you flood your base, I mean if you flood your base, you can just remove it all. That of course is the highlight of this, the whole water part of it, as well as the new biome and higher max level, but the other big part for me was the update that they added for one of my favorite weapons across MMOs and RPGs of all time, great swords. There's just something incredibly satisfying about taking a giant hunking sword and cleaving through enemies. If you're looking for an MMO adjacent game that has a lot of the same feel of an MMO, I really can't recommend Enshrouded enough. It's a survival game like Valheim, but with less friction. It also has tremendous amounts of options to tailor the world to what you want in terms of difficulty of combat and availability of resources. This is not the type of game where you'll be sitting and micromanaging your hunger and thirst meters. This is actually a game that has a lot less of that survival friction and more of the exploration side of it, more of the combat side of it. You can actually make it kind of a little bit almost like Souls-like combat with the difficulty sliders, which is a mistake sometimes, like this.
Oh shit, bro.
Red, what did I say about bringing enemies?
I was not
Keep
me,
running.
that was BB.
There's 3.
But it also has a lot of great traversal mechanics, a lot of building mechanics, and it has a really cool skill tree. And it's just, I've loved this game since I played it for the first time, and I think you will too. My name is Red Flynn. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day.